Well, welcome back to those who've been hanging with me some time, and welcome to those of you who are new to my channel. I'm Adele Levine, intuitive and medium. All right, first matters of business is this. I had made an announcement on my YouTube and on my Instagram that I was going to be doing a unique video, and I put a picture of an Xbox controller. So I had a whole plan to do a review of the new game that has just come out today. Well, the day it's coming out is on the 28th, and I think that's when you're seeing this video, called The Medium. Cue picture of The Medium, maybe, perhaps, here, of the game. Not this, The Medium. And I thought it would be super cool. I wanted to play it. I was like, I'm the medium, well, not the medium, but I am a medium playing the game The Medium. However, I have an Xbox X, and it's only for an Xbox XS, I think, right? And so it's not available to me. I even bought it, and they were like, this isn't compatible. And I'm like, really? So it isn't. I even have a PlayStation 5. Doesn't come out on PlayStation 5. So I will not be doing that video today, unfortunately. I so bad wanted to do it, so it's a little irritating. Obviously, I'm not buying a new Xbox just for that game. However, if that happens in some time, then I'll be able to do it. So let's move on to the topic at hand. Cheers to New York real quick. And let's move on. Oh, and you may hear a little activity because I got a new kitty. Cue a picture of my new kitty. Her name is Gem. She's beautiful. I'm not going to try and pick her up because she's a little bit all over the place, but it is awesome addition to the family. So let's get to the subject, cutting cords. What is cutting cords? I wanted to do a video on this because I did a class and we talked about this came up. And I realized I haven't covered it. And I'm like, wow, I haven't covered this. This is actually a pretty big subject. Believe it or not, there's a lot of different layers. So I'm just going to cover the umbrella of cutting cords. Cutting cords is the idea that when you are creating attachment to someone, if you're creating a connection to someone and you no longer want to have that connection on an emotional level, spiritual level, and even psychological level, you want to cut the cord. Now, it is more about the energy of the person. So kind of imagine like this: when we are romantically involved, or even if we have very, very strong friendships with someone, we create such a strong energy between the two of us that it's like a cord connecting between this person and this person. We do it sometimes intentionally, especially very magical people who are very spiritual, who understand this idea of creating connection, will almost create that connection so strong that they're aware that they're doing it. And you're looking at someone who's done that in the past. And I would say be leery of doing this with someone who also knows what they're doing, because cutting those cords become a lot more interesting than when you're just cutting a cord with someone who isn't aware of what they're doing. So it is an emotional bond and connection, but it is also a spiritual one. So kind of imagine that cord that you have with your mother, like the umbilical cord. It is such a strong vibration, obviously, that connection between a mother and a child. Even if the relationship was difficult, even if you didn't know your mother, there's an energy. I mean, there's life force that came through that cord, literal life force. But we can do the same things spiritually with someone, creating such a strong connection with that person. So when you are breaking up with someone, or you no longer want that person to feel you, you cut the cord. You ever have the feeling where you're going through your day after you broke up with someone, let's say it's been weeks or months, and you're feeling really good, and you're finally kind of releasing yourself from that person, and all of a sudden, ring, they call. Like they knew that you're kind of healing and growing past them and, quote, getting over them and moving forward. And it is a real thing. It especially happens, I notice, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen in reverse, but it can happen a lot. I've noticed where women tell me this a lot, or maybe it's because I read for a lot of women with men in their life. But it absolutely happens in all areas, whether it's women to women, men to men, men to women, or even just friendships. It is just a thing. When you have a connection with someone, and they can kind of almost smell and sense, and they can feel that your energy is starting to pull away. They don't have to be in the same room, the same house, the same block, the same city, the same state, the same country. They can feel it, and that's an energy. And so what do you do about it? Cutting cords. Now, there's different ways. You can have someone who does this sort of thing. There are people that are healers and people who cut cords for you, who do an energy work. And anything I tell you, I've tried myself. And yes, I've gone to someone who was actually a very, very magical, and I mean magical because she was a witch. She called herself a witch, but she was also a healer, and she worked with this sort of energy. So this wasn't any kind of witchery, or this wasn't any kind of magic she was doing. It was really coming from a very healing place of someone who knew how to tune into the heart and cleanse the heart and cut the cord. And I tried it out, and I was someone who's sitting there going, we'll see if this is a thing. And yeah, it did feel 100% like I had to go to her a few times. I could feel something breaking away. And I had to do this quite a few times, because the stronger that cord, the stronger that connection, especially if you know what you're doing, trying to create that connection, the more you need to do it. So let me know in the comments below, by the way, have you experienced this before? Have you been like feeling pretty good and dandy, and then ring, somebody calls or shows up, and you're like, that is so weird. I was just kind of moving into this new place. Have you? Or have you actually had the opposite feeling? Maybe you have sensed it from someone kind of starting to pull away, and you can kind of feel it even if you're not around that person. That is kind of the unconscious way you are cutting the cord. The conscious way is what I was saying. You can go to a healer or someone, but make sure they're reputable. Make sure it's someone who really knows their shit, not just someone who took a course for a few weeks and learned it. This is someone that I went to was dedicated into their life. This was a way of life. This is what they did through and through. So make sure it's someone who really understands these things. You can do this for yourself, absolutely. And I'm going to show you or tell you a little bit how. One of the ways you do it is you do focus on that person, and you kind of imagine almost like a sword, almost like, not more than a scissor, and you see yourself cutting the cord away from you and that person. You even are pulling it off of you, away from that person. And you have to do it several times, because if you are feeling like you do this and then you kind of get weepy and your heart starts to hurt and you kind of feel a pull towards that person, you do it again. And when you visualize this, you can visualize anything you work with, whether it's angels or higher energies. What I mean by that is just something that is kind of more evolved than what you feel, to assist you, whatever you believe in. And it's whatever you believe in. I'm going to say that because everybody has different beliefs, and you ask it to help cut the cord. And be careful, because you don't want to cut it subtly. You don't want it to be like, I'm cutting it, boom, end of story. I don't want anything. It's not a good idea, because that person boomerangs quickly. I did that once, same night, phone rang. You don't want to do it quickly. You want to do it like, I'm cutting the cord, and that's why I'm telling you to call in those that you work with to kind of help bring good energy, and an energy of protection, and an energy of doing it in this kind of way. Not like chop. And then you want to do it again. And after you cut the cord, and you're going to ask how many times, you have to do it according to your own senses. But I would say maybe 1 or 2 times a week to begin with, and over a while it may get less and less, because you may even sense that your pull towards that person may start to lessen. Now remember, cutting cords is more about you. It's not about that person. It's not about teaching them a lesson. It's not about teaching them, you know, hey, listen, you thought you could have me all the time, so I'm going to show you. That's not what this is. This is about you freeing yourself from that bond, from that connection you feel. And this does work with family members. Many of us have family members we don't feel are healthy for us, are good for us, but we get pulled into that type of, you know, non-healthy relationship, and you just feel like when you're trying to pull away, you get pulled back in, like the Godfather, right? So if there's a way that you feel like, is it the Godfather? Yeah, the Godfather, I was right. So this can actually help in relationships. Relationships that are relatives as well. Anything that you feel it's pulling you. But remember, this is about you. You are cutting the cord and setting the boundary. So that's the next thing, is you want to put a boundary between you and that energy. So you're cutting the cord. You can do a ritual. You can lay down. You can light candles, light some incense, whatever you need to do. And you can raise the energy, and you can protect yourself, and you ask for the cord to be cut. And then I would kind of close it with like, okay, thank you very much. And again, you can, like, you know, put some incense around you, and or oil, whatever, and you, whatever works for you, and you close it, and it is done. Then you could do it again. And then you can continue to do it until you don't feel that pull, because you do want to focus on the person that you're feeling pulled towards, not sending anything to that person, not harming or getting all, you know, I'll show them. This is you saying, I want to untangle from this web that I'm in with this person. Want to be free. So it's coming from yourself, taking care of yourself and paying attention to what's best for you. Remember that. That's important, because I'm not about sending things to people and showing them to teach them a lesson. It will bounce back to you, and honestly, you'll boomerang that person right back to you. So these are the two ways, and you can do both. If you want to try someone out and see if they can help you cut those cords, and you want to do this yourself, you can do both of those as well. And any other things that you feel drawn to, if there's candles that you want to kind of put intention on, or whatever, fine, baths you want to take, and you want to feel like you're putting salt and cleanse as you're cutting the cord, you may do that as well. But that's what cutting the cord is. It's about kind of like almost like strings that come between you and someone. That was one of my cats hissing at my new baby. So yeah, she's definitely cutting the cord. Well, the other's trying to kind of create a cord, and she won't let her. Anyway, so yeah, you definitely want to do this as something. It depends, just so you know, how long, how tight it was. If you were dating someone for a few weeks and you felt like a cord was connected, which does happen, and even if you are having like a little one-off, you could feel like you connected to that person, you can cut it. But it really depends how long you do this, on how long this relationship was. Was it weeks? Was it months? Was it years? You'll know. And by the way, I should say, on how much time is not as important how intense the relationship was. Because let's face it, you can be with someone for 1 year and create such an intense connection. I did something you don't want to do way, way back in my past, which is kind of hugging each other and breathing in and out with each other, because it's two spiritual people, and creating a cord. I don't recommend that. I do not. Because if you're no longer with that person, and that person is very aware that you guys did this together, cutting that cord makes it a little more difficult. So beware. However, most people are just doing it with emotion and through their heart and things like that. Don't worry about where the cord is, because I know that people are going to ask that, oh, was it around my heart? Is it around my stomach? I actually felt it through my stomach, but that's not what's important. It's more the energy that you're focusing on. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this made some sense. Thanks to people who came to my last class, the remote viewing class. It was awesome. You guys did some cool stuff. I also have a special announcement. I am launching my own podcast, and you will be able to see it. It's on Spotify. It's called Peering into the Narrow Room, Expanding Your Spirit and Mind. And it will be awesome. It's going to be me, and I'll have guests, and this is going to be a podcast of discussion. My YouTube channel is more about teaching and giving you videos and tools, and the podcast is more about let's explore and discuss. So it'll be interactive emails from you. You can see it on Spotify right now. I'm waiting for it any minute to post onto Apple. So thank you guys for all the support in my last podcast that I was on, The Witch and the Medium. I know some of you have expressed you missed that. I so appreciate all of the love, but you know, we grow and we move forward and we do new things. So I'm very excited about this. And I'll be posting more info on that on my Instagram, but it is, up. It's just the intro podcast right now, episode, and it will be a weekly podcast. Okay. Also, I am doing a class on, telepathically communicating to spirits, and you should, be able to see that on my Instagram and on my website. I'm doing 2 classes, but the other one's not till the end of the month, next month. And that one will be up on Instagram as well. Thank you guys so much. I'm still offering 50% off of my readings during this time. Follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you guys soon.